When Shirley MacLaine decided to speak her truth at 91, Hollywood wasn't ready. For decades, she wore the mask of the seasoned professional, smiling for cameras, charming interviewers, and never missing a beat. But the truth behind that polished exterior? It was a ticking time bomb, and now it's exploded. What forced her to demand separate trailers, alternate schedules, and solo press tours wasn't diva behavior. It was survival. Behind the velvet curtain of classic cinema lay a battlefield of rivalry, ego, and whispered secrets. And Shirley lived through every second of it. Born during the toughest years of the Great Depression in Richmond, Virginia, Shirley's roots were anything but glamorous. Her father juggled teaching, school administration, and real estate just to keep food on the table. Her mother, a Canadian with a passion for drama, sparked the flame that would ignite Shirley's career. They named her after Shirley Temple, and perhaps fate took notice. Her younger brother, yes, that Warren Beatty, would also end up in Hollywood, changing the spelling of the family name but not the ambition. Early on, Shirley wasn't just artsy, she was tough. She earned the nickname Powerhouse after dominating the local baseball field with home runs that left the boys speechless. But there was a weakness too, her ankles, constantly giving out. Her mother's solution? Ballet. What began as physical therapy transformed into obsession. Shirley trained relentlessly, earning a place at the prestigious Washington School of Ballet. But she soon realized her physical build didn't suit the art's rigid demands. So she pivoted, like all great stars do. Before she even graduated high school, she was on a bus to New York. No connections, no safety net, just raw hunger. She snagged a chorus role in a subway rendition of Oklahoma, and never looked back. When she finally did graduate in 1952, she shed her last name, Beatty, and adopted her mother's maiden name, becoming Shirley MacLaine. The name would one day echo across red carpets and award stages. Opportunity came fast, but not easy. She was cast in the background of Me and Juliet, but her spark was impossible to ignore. A chance to understudy in The Pajama Game changed everything. When lead Carol Haney was injured, Shirley stepped in. Her performance didn't just impress, it stunned. One night, producer Hal B. Wallace happened to be in the audience. That coincidence launched her. Within months, Shirley had a 5-year contract at Paramount, skipping the years of struggle most actors endure. Her first film was with none other than Alfred Hitchcock in The Trouble with Harry. It was a dark comedy, but Shirley's performance was electric. She walked away with a Golden Globe for Best New Actress. Then came Around the World in 80 Days, a star-studded epic. Shirley filmed the movie while secretly pregnant, then made an unconventional choice. Her daughter Sachi was sent to live in Japan with her father and his partner, so Shirley could chase Hollywood immortality. That decision would haunt her personal life for decades, even as her star rose. The 1958 film Some Came Running proved she was more than a charming dancer. Frank Sinatra handpicked her for the role of Ginny, which had originally been meant for Marilyn Monroe. On set, she brought a toy dog, stayed in character even when the cameras stopped rolling, and gave a performance that earned her an Oscar nomination. Sinatra even told the director to let her character die in the film. It would make the performance unforgettable. And it did. But while her career soared, the backstage world was far from golden. Wallace, the very man who had discovered her, turned predator. Shirley revealed that she had to physically defend herself when he crossed a line. Later, she sued him over contract disputes and won. And in another moment of defiance, she famously punched a reporter who printed a disrespectful piece about her. These weren't outbursts. They were lines drawn in an industry where silence often came at the cost of dignity. Throughout it all, Shirley built not just a career, but an empire. Over the years, she amassed a real estate portfolio that included luxurious homes in Malibu and Santa Fe. She favored understated elegance over ostentatious glamour, but her wealth was very real. She's been spotted in high-end cars like the Bentley Continental GT and Mercedes S-Class, and her watch collection has included Cartier classics and vintage Rolexes, timeless pieces for a woman who never aged out of relevance. Her business ventures extended beyond Hollywood. Shirley invested in wellness and spirituality projects, aligning with her deep interest in metaphysics. She published best-selling books and went on speaking tours that drew thousands. These weren't side gigs, they were profitable empires in their own right. Her policies reportedly included comprehensive health coverage, asset protection, and liability insurance tailored for celebrity estates. One insider described her financial management as quietly brilliant. What can we learn from Shirley's playbook? First, bet on yourself when no one else will. Second, diversify. She didn't wait for Hollywood to write her story. She authored her own, literally and financially. Her net worth, estimated north of $50 million, isn't just a result of movie roles. It's the product of smart investments, tight financial controls, and a refusal to let fame be her only asset. Even now, in her 90s, Shirley MacLaine remains a force. She's no longer chasing roles or accolades. She's handing out truth bombs that shake the industry. And in an era where public image is everything, she's rewriting hers with raw honesty. She's not just reflecting on her past, she's owning it. Shirley MacLaine wasn't just another name on a marquee. She was a storm wrapped in sequins, sharp heels, and biting wit. When she teamed up with FSY, a first-time director, people were stunned. Hollywood is no place for loyalty. Yet Shirley handed over the reins of a $20 million project, about $150 million today, to someone who had never sat in the director's chair before. But Shirley remembered. He had once given her a shot, and now she was returning the favor in the boldest way possible. That gamble became sweet charity, a box office risk, but a cultural cornerstone. Her performance, especially in If My Friends Could See Me Now, etched itself into cinema history. Her legs, her timing, her raw magnetism. That number is still referenced today by choreographers and Broadway hopefuls alike. But behind the shimmer was tension. FSY wanted realism. The studio wanted gloss. And Shirley? She stood by FSY, even when it meant replacing a top producer midstream. That wasn't just loyalty. It was clout. And it came with a cost. The movie didn't pull in profits, but Shirley's star never dimmed. Through the 60s, she racked up 5 Golden Globe nominations, winning 2. Studios bent to her will, because they had to. Just when everyone expected her to ride the Hollywood machine, she pumped the brakes. In the early 70s, Shirley stepped away to campaign for George McGovern. It was a shocking move, turning her back on big-budget offers. She was offered $750,000, over $6 million today, for a film that never even got made. That's how valuable her name was. Even silence from her earned 7-figure checks. And then came the whirlwind romance that began in a Manhattan pub in 1952. 4 hours after meeting Steve Parker, he proposed. They waited 2 years to marry, by which time Shirley's star was rising fast. Parker, uncomfortable in her shadow, moved to Japan in 1956 to chase his own career. From then on, they lived on different continents, a setup that defied tradition, but made perfect sense to them. When their daughter Sachi was born, it seemed like the missing piece. But Hollywood waited for no one, and Shirley plunged into a breakneck pace. 25 films in 15 years. Think Sinatra, Dean Martin, Audrey Hepburn. She wasn't just keeping up, she was outshining them. Staying home wasn't an option. She knew herself too well. If she gave up acting, resentment would fester, and everyone would lose. But don't mistake eccentricity for decline. Her career never stopped reinventing itself. In 1970, she stood toe-to-toe with Clint Eastwood in Two Mules for Sister Sarah. It was another dramatic pivot, another genre conquered. Her brand was unpredictability, and that's what made her timeless. And then there's the fortune she built quietly, strategically. At the height of her career in the late 70s and early 80s, Shirley MacLaine was commanding north of $1 million per film. Adjusted for inflation, that placed her among the elite. Her current net worth is estimated around $60 million, though that figure only scratches the surface of her asset web. Her real estate portfolio alone could tell its own story. A sprawling ranch in Santa Fe valued at nearly $6 million, a longtime Los Angeles property in Malibu once estimated at $10 million, and an apartment in New York's Upper West Side, discreetly tucked away but worth every penny of its $4.5 million market value. And she's no stranger to high-octane toys. Over the decades, Shirley has favored understated elegance over flashy displays, though she's been spotted in luxury rides like the Bentley Continental GT and a vintage Jaguar XJ6. She's also collected an enviable cache of classic watches, including a Cartier Tank Française and an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, pieces that speak to old-world glamour. Unlike many of her peers, Shirley's investments leaned toward longevity rather than flash. She avoided the chaos of commercial endorsements and instead funneled her wealth into properties, trusts, and long-term securities. That's why financial analysts now project that her estate, barring any major shifts, could grow to over $85 million within the next decade. Not just enduring, expanding. Still, her most valuable currency is legacy. The way she's lived, unapologetically, unpredictably, isn't just remembered. It's studied. Young actresses reference her in interviews. Directors cite her as fearless. She doesn't chase relevance, she defines it. Audiences still adore Shirley, but the truth is, her legacy is tangled in contradictions. She speaks of universal energy and eternal souls, yet her daughter felt like a ghost in her mother's orbit. It's a haunting contrast, and one that begs the question: how much does fame cost when it's paid in silence and absence? That emotional cliffhanger is what still keeps fans glued to her story. And it doesn't end there. Financially, Shirley played a smarter game than most of her peers. At the height of her career, she negotiated back-end points on major projects, boosting her earnings beyond upfront salaries. Her net worth, once hovering around $10 million, quietly swelled to an estimated $60 million by the 2020s, thanks to smart property moves and decades of royalties. Her real estate holdings include a sprawling ranch in Abiquiu, New Mexico, a serene retreat she calls her sanctuary. Valued at over $7 million, it's not just a home. It's a spiritual fortress, complete with meditation domes and private gardens. Shirley's car collection leaned toward classic elegance rather than flash. A vintage Mercedes-Benz 280 SL, a rare Jaguar XJ, and a fully electric Tesla Model S, which she once jokingly claimed could drive her straight into the future. Her accessories of choice? Cartier tank watches, and a rare Patek Philippe gifted to her by a former studio exec, proof she's old Hollywood royalty with modern taste. But perhaps the boldest chapter in her financial story lies in her belief system turned business. Her books, often dismissed as wild ramblings, became international bestsellers, rights sold, adaptations made. And when ABC's miniseries on her spiritual journey drew 30 million viewers, Shirley didn't just cash in, she redefined herself. That infamous clash with Shirley wasn't a one-time meltdown. It was a symptom of a bigger war Winger was waging, against typecasting, against sexism, against the very machinery of fame. While others smiled for the cameras, she scowled at the scripts. She walked away from roles that could have doubled her fame, turned down millions, and at one point, disappeared entirely. So where is she now? Quietly, Winger rebuilt. Her net worth, estimated at $8 million, reflects a career that's been selective by design. She invested in upstate New York property, a 19th-century farmhouse turned artistic haven. valued around $2 million. Instead of luxury cars, she's been spotted in an Audi e-tron and a vintage Ford Bronco. No showy watches, no flashy jets. Just choices made on her terms. That restraint also extended to business. She partnered in indie film productions, where she had creative control, and even mentored young writers. Winger understood that power isn't in exposure, it's in ownership. Her financial model is minimalism meets autonomy. It may not headline Forbes, but it speaks volumes. And yet, there's tragedy laced in that independence. Winger confessed in a rare 2022 interview that she often wonders what might have happened if she'd played nice. "I could have had more Oscars," she admitted, "but I don't know if I'd still like myself." That line hit like a thunderclap. Because underneath the bravado is a woman who traded fame for freedom, and still questions the price. But this tale isn't complete without one more seismic shift. Enter Sachi Parker. Once the forgotten child in Shirley's glittering wake, Sachi's life took a radical turn after her memoir, Lucky Me, ignited a media firestorm. She didn't just reclaim her story, she repackaged her pain into a platform. In the years since, she's built a speaking career, appeared at trauma recovery panels, and even launched a wellness brand rooted in healing from fractured families. Net worth? A modest $1 million, but growing. Sachi invested in a small home in Santa Fe, close but not too close to her mother's ranch. She drives a hybrid Lexus and wears a Fitbit over any designer timepiece. But her real asset isn't material, it's resilience. She's living proof that children of Hollywood aren't doomed to shadows. They can step into the sun, and in a final twist worthy of its own script, insiders say Shirley and Sachi had a quiet reconciliation during the pandemic. No cameras, no press. Just two women, decades apart in worldview, finally meeting in the middle. It's unconfirmed, but sometimes silence says more than statements ever could. So what do we take from all this? Fame can be fickle. Family, even more so. But if Shirley taught us anything, it's that reinvention is always possible. If Winger taught us anything, it's that authenticity comes with cost, but also with dignity. And if Sachi taught us anything, it's that healing isn't just a fantasy. It's a choice. And there you have it. Hollywood at its wildest, rawest, and most unforgettable. From Shirley MacLaine's spiritual odyssey and backstage brawls to Sachi Parker's haunting confessions, we've seen what really happens when the lights go down and the cameras stop rolling. This wasn't just about awards or red carpets. It was about legacy, love lost, truths untold, and the jaw-dropping reality behind the glitter. We uncovered feuds that turned film sets into battlegrounds, secrets that rewrote family history, and financial empires built not just on box office hits, but bold, often bizarre choices. And let's not forget Shirley's intergalactic revelations, because only in Hollywood could someone win an Oscar and claim to be a reincarnated warrior from Atlantis in the same breath. If you're as stunned as we are, don't forget to smash that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments, especially your favorite "wait, what?" moment. And of course, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next.